Hello, I'm Kelsey Hubbard. Welcome to Off Duty, where we feature the best new video content from the Wall Street Journal. It was announced earlier today that disco queen Donna Summer has passed away from cancer at the age of 63. Speakeasy editor Chris Farley sat down with Evan Newmark on Mean Street to discuss her life and career.
For me, at least, Donna Summers was a bigger icon, much bigger than either Whitney Houston or, ready for this one, Chris Farley,
let's hear it,
senior editor here at the Wall Street Journal, even Michael Jackson.
Okay,
Donna
no,
Summer.
I'm gonna wait.
Listen. I'm sorry. Just stick with me.
Do I have to stay?
You have to stay. Listen. What I mean by that is she was, her music, when, look, I went through like the late 60s, early 70s with the Jackson 5, watching their cartoon on TV.
Okay, I'm with you so
far.
But
the 70s for me was the disco era, and Donna Summers was huge. I mean, many of our younger viewers may not be aware of this, but she was the soundtrack to many people's weddings, sweet 16s, and bar mitzvahs, long through the 70s into the 80s.
Okay, yeah, Donna Summer, great icon. I think that people who made fun of disco in the 70s realize it's still alive today and thriving, and Glee is covering these songs. So that's how big it is. It's really had a lasting impact on musical culture. These songs are forever. But just to sort of adjust
you're
what you
really
just said,
you're upset about the Michael Jackson
Donna
thing.
Summer, great icon, not bigger than Michael Jackson.
No,
Sorry.
I'm talking about for me.
Sorry about that. No.
I said for me personally.
For you personally.
For me personally.
Well, I'm trying to help you personally and let you understand
I don't need that kind of
Donna
help.
Summer you can have fun in your life, but
now,
Michael Jackson is bigger.
What would you be your favorite? Did you have a favorite Donna Summer song?
On the Radio is a great song. I think it's a terrific song. I think that She Works Hard for the Money is also a great song. I think it also illustrates why she was a lasting personality in music, because she wrote or co-wrote a lot of her hits.
That's what
She Works Hard for the Money.
I was curious, yeah. And by the way, a lot of big stars, especially stars from the 70s, 80s, did not write a lot of their own material, but she did. I don't know whether she wrote my favorite song, which I think they get, Love to Love You, Baby. Do you remember that one?
You know,
Chris, you may not have been born when that one came out, Chris.
As Jim Fusilli just wrote, that was really earlier in her career, and she was almost a passenger on that song.
Right.
Later on, she took more control of her career, of her sound, of the things that she wrote. But early on in her career, she really was along for the ride, the disco ride there. But you listen to some of those later songs, you really see an artist coming alive and realizing her potential. She's someone who was always a great singer, but she became an even better songwriter. And she also knew how to choose the collaborators she worked with. You know, everyone from obscure producers to Quincy Jones.
Did she work with Giorgio Moroder at all?
Yes, of course.
Because I think I remember them having some very, very big hits.
Some very big hits in the beginning, and that's one of her key collaborators.
Was there ever a big Donna Summer comeback? I mean, I got to say, you know, if somebody I would give time for the comeback, did she have a second act here, or by the mid-'80s was it kind of, was she doing like Las Vegas, Atlantic City, or that kind of thing?
Well, creatively, she did have a second act, and as Jim Fusilli wrote in our own paper a couple years ago, she came out with this album, Crayons. It was her first studio recording in 17 years, and a lot of the critics really praised it and said, listen, she still has it in terms of being a songwriter, in terms of picking material, but in terms of a big in terms of big commercial comeback, she didn't really have that, but her music did last. People still love these songs, people still cover these songs, younger artists are still performing these songs, so it showed the music was there. People may have made fun of it in the 70s, the 80s.
A lot of Grammy Awards, and I love most of the songs. I'm not a big fan of the song from the movie. What was that one? Flashdance. What song was that? The one you like. She Works Hard for the Money. Now, I much prefer Hot Stuff and Last Dance.
But I tell you, you put on Hot Stuff, you put on Last Dance right now, you can get any party grooving. People will dance to that music today, whether in their 20s, 30s, 40s. I could get this newsroom dancing right now. If you had two speakers, Donna Summer, this newsroom would be dancing.
I think it would take more than just some speakers. I think it would take you actually singing "Love to Love You, Baby"
That's not
to
happen.
get most of these editors actually up on the dance floor.
But it's a nice thought.
I wanted to get a glitter ball, actually.
Really? For the Wall Street Journal?
No, not for the Wall Street Journal. For the segment on Donna Summer.
Use.
Let me tell you, Donna, her music was the soundtrack to bar mitzvahs and sweet 16s growing up on Long Island.
You're exactly right.
She was huge.
Well, and that's why her passing really affected so many people, because I remember this music as part of the most interesting memories of their lives, like bar mitzvahs, like birthday parties, like weddings. Donna Summer was there, and now she's not.
Here in New York, Jets fans are anxiously awaiting the new season and the arrival of Tim Tebow. Recently, our own Lee Hawkins sat down with Denver Broncos executive and NFL legend John Elway to discuss why he traded Tebow and signed a Peyton Manning.
I want to welcome John Elway, who is the legendary quarterback, of course. He's also a Denver Bronco executive. You were thrust in the middle of two of the biggest brands in contemporary football today, Tim Tebow and Peyton Manning. Was it fair that that critics said that you did not like Tim Tebow?
Well, the bottom line is I like Tim Tebow.
Did you like him?
Yeah, of course I like Tim Tebow. I mean, I've come out and said many times, Tim Tebow's the type of guy I'd like to marry one of my daughters. And so, I think that when you get down to it, the hard thing about football is a lot of times
that doesn't score a touchdown.
Exactly. But the bottom line is that you have to make business decisions when it comes down to what happens on the football field and what gives us the best chance to be successful. We had an opportunity to pursue Peyton Manning, and we were fortunate enough to land a Peyton Manning, who obviously is one of the top 5 quarterbacks to ever play the game, and may go down when he retires as the best quarterback to ever play the game. And he was interested in the Denver Broncos, and so it was something that we had to see if we'd get the opportunity, and he wanted to come to Denver. We were lucky enough that he picked us, and that just made it. When you have a Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow, we just felt it was best to give Tim an opportunity somewhere else.
And you'll go down as one of the best executives in a front office if everything works out, because you made this $96 million bet on Peyton Manning, who was a quarterback who had a spinal fusion. But being a quarterback yourself, you still didn't think that would inhibit his progress. Why not?
And I think most of it, a lot of the advice comes from our medical staff and how they felt about now Peyton's neck and the medical situation that he was in there.
Right.
So, it really came down to what our doctors thought. And once
Did you ever have a neck injury when you were playing?
I did not. Okay. And so I was fortunate that I did not. But the advice came from our doctors, and plus Peyton, because Peyton wanted to play again, and he wasn't concerned with it, and the doctors were not concerned, and gave him 100%. Backing that he was going to be fine to play the game. And so once we heard that, then it was just trying to get Peyton in the doors in Denver.
It's a huge advantage to having been a player and working in the front office, but it also must put you in a dilemma, because you're a former player, so you're thinking about the concerns about concussions, but also you want to protect the interests of your team in the NFL, and you don't want to take on unnecessary liability. Is that hard for you?
Well, I mean, it's like any business. It's always about risk and reward. And I think that obviously, the risk side of it, there's a big part of it. But you also know that, there's going to be injuries in the NFL because it's a physical game. And so, those are the decisions that you have to make. You have to make the best ones that you can for the organization that doesn't put the organization at risk, but also gives you a chance to compete for a world championship. And I think the difference there is the decisions that we have to make.
And with John Elway, I'm Lee Hawkins.
Pivoting just a bit from the gridiron to the kitchen, we turn to our own Gail Monaghan for some expert advice on how to make homemade jam.
Today we're going to make strawberry jam. And I think people see jam as this complicated thing to make. So today I'm going to show you the most basic jam, basic strawberry jam. So here we have strawberries. This was 4 cups of strawberries, washed, trimmed, and cut into quarters. And the traditional way of making jam is that you use an equal amount of fruits and sugar. So this is 4 cups of sugar. I don't really like to use quite that much sugar. You can experiment with this. I'm gonna put in about 2.5 cups, let's say, to 4 cups of strawberries. I like to put in a big pinch of salt, and I like a little bit of lemon juice. There's something about the lemon cutting the sugar but adding another element. It just makes it richer. So here's the sugar, the lemon juice, the salt, the strawberries. I'm gonna stir them together. Some cookbooks tell you that it's good, if you have the time, to stir the sugar together with the berries or the fruit the night before and just let it sit. And that helps break down the fruit. So, if you have time to do that, do that. We're not doing that. We're just mixing these things together. We're going to put them on the stove. We're going to cook it for a little while, and it's going to be jam. We're going to put it on the stove over medium heat. There it is. And I like to stir it for a while, but you don't really have to. You can leave it and come back to it after about 3 or 4 minutes and stir it every few minutes. So as you can see, the sugar is beginning to melt. It's getting ready to simmer. Eventually, when the sugar really melts, you'll see that the sauce around the berries will become clear, kind of clear pink. Okay, so there are little bubbles beginning to form around the edges. The hotter it gets, the quicker the berries are going to break down and turn into jam. Oh yeah, now see, it's beautiful and bubbling. But see, they're starting to get soft, they're breaking down, but you're just waiting for the liquid to get thick enough. The way you can tell the jam is done is you take some of the hot jam, some of the liquid, and you put it on a little plate. What you do is you let it cool, and you see how thick it is when it's cool, and that's the way your jam is going to be, because once it cools, it's much thicker than the runny way it is when it's hot. It's looking pretty done to me. Although you should know that it doesn't really have to be one way or another. If it's really thick, as I said, you can add water. If it's really thin, it's kind of delicious and syrupy. I find it almost more elegant when it's thinner. Okay, so this jam is finished, and we're going to bring it over and pour it into some jars so we can then let it cool and put them in the refrigerator. And then I'm going to put it in either jam jars, Pyrex jam jars, or Pyrex regular jars. But you want to put it in Pyrex if it's hot. You don't want to pour something really hot into normal glass because it could break. It's still hot, but I think I'm going to try it anyway just because I'm curious. Let's see if it's as good as usual. Oh, I want to eat it right now on ice cream. Or on waffles, or on pound cake. It's really good. Yum.
Rebecca Pidgeon, perhaps best known as a film and stage actress, recently released her 6th album, Slingshot. She stopped by WSJ Studios to chat about her new album with Journal rock and pop critic Jim Fusilli.
And I'm searching for a heart. I'm searching everywhere.
Hey, for the Wall Street Journal, I'm Jim Fusilli. Our guest today is Rebecca Pidgeon, who you know from her film work, but she has a lovely new album, her 6th. It's called Slingshot. Hey, Rebecca.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay. I really love this album. Yeah, and you're in with some really heavy hitters. I mean, Larry Klein produced it. You have Dean Parks on guitar, and Jay Bellerose is the drummer, and some tracks. And yet you're right in there with them. And the songs you wrote are the focal point. Has the experience of the years of recording helped you in that environment?
Yes, I suppose so. I feel pretty very at ease in the studio with Larry, certainly, and we've worked together for a few years now. We've known each other for many years. And all of those guys I've worked with before, and they're just so wonderfully supportive.
Did you cut your guitar parts live with them?
Do you know, I don't play the guitar on the record. Oh. Because we were recording it live, we gave all my parts to Dean.
Okay.
Who can play them much better
not so bad.
than I can.
I noticed you've written some songs with David Batteau and some songs with Larry and some songs with Freddie Johnston.
Yeah.
How does the collaboration work? Do you enjoy that?
Oh, I loved working with all of those people. It's a bit like a blind date. You know, you sort of go in and you know if it's going to work or not quite immediately. And with Freddie, we just instantly clicked. And David Batteau he's an odd and wonderful idiosyncratic creature from another planet. Yeah. And he's like a constant spring. He's constantly inspired. I also wrote with a really good writer, great writer called Timothy Bracey. Yeah. Am I missing anybody?
Well, you're missing your husband, David Mamet.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Because that song is a really haunting song. How did that song come about?
Well, I was listening to Hank Williams, and I thought, well, these songs are so simple. Surely one could write a song like this. So I tried and found that actually it really came from his own genius. It's really hard to write something that sounds so simple but is so deep. So I wrote the tune and the melody and the idea of Baby Please Come Home Again, and then I said, Dave, do you feel like you can do anything with these lyrics that I've come up with? And he sat down and completely rewrote it and came up with that beautiful lyric.
Leaving in the evening, traveling at night, I'm staying inconspicuous.
The Warren Zevon song.
Yeah.
You take it quite differently than Warren did it or that Don Henley does it. You found the gentleness in the song.
Yes.
Was it always there to be found, or did you have to go look for it?
Oh yeah, I think it's really apparent. It's such a I think it's a very introspective song. I mean, he had a real 80s production value, real rock kind of production to it. But those changes into the minor, into the major, and it's got a real sadness about it, and a loneliness about it.
Yes, it does.
Which, you know, I liked.
She is Rebecca Pidgeon. The album is Slingshot. You must hear it. You'll love it. And when you're done watching this a few times, migrate over to some of the videos that she's posted on YouTube. Her version of Spanish Harlem is really striking.
Thanks for watching Off Duty. I'm Kelsey Hubbard. Please don't forget to click above to subscribe. And tomorrow on Off Duty, we'll feature the full WSJ Cafe performance of British rock legend Paul Weller. We'll leave you with a clip.